So now moving on to my next point is the picking of slide. Now, if you notice, where have my slides gone? It's here. If you notice this slide, if you play it, if you want to play just one single note, it tends to, all the other strings tend to resonate when you move the slide. So if I just solidly pick the note that I want to use, so I'm going to be plucking the G string. Now I don't know if you're getting that through the camera mic, but what you get is when you move the slide, you get loads of background noise. Now we don't want that. So this is where using a pick becomes a disadvantage to you to play a slide. So what I do when I play a slide is I play it with my fingers, because what that gives me a chance to do is use the other digits that I'm not using to mute the guitar. So to show you what I mean on the small camera, what I'm doing is I'm placing my almost palm muting, sort of resting on the bridge. I mean, this is a Tune-o-matic bridge. You could do this with a Strat style guitar, Fender style guitar, whatever. I'm just resting on the bridge, and I'm using my thumb to control the E, A, and D strings, and then I'm using my index, middle, and ring finger for the G, B, and E strings. So it's like a more traditional folk fingerstyle approach. So what that gives me to do is that gives me control over all the strings. So if I want to play them all, I can do. Or I can use, for example, if I want to just solely play the B string, I can use my index and ring fingers to just place them on the strings that I don't want to ring, and I can still play with plenty of attack, but not have that, you know, sort of the other strings ringing out. Right, now if I just let go of everything, you get that resonance that you don't want. So I invest some serious time investing into your fingers, because also that gives you you don't develop any bad habits for learning other things like fingerstyle guitar and things as well. So I mean, you've got them on your hand, you might as well use them. I mean, sort of the early 70s stuff, sort of the early sort of Led Zeppelin 70s stuff, like Travelling Riverside Blues and stuff like that, their Robert Johnson cover. I'm convinced he's using a pick there, but I mean, he is hitting all the strings, apart from, I mean, I'm in the wrong tuning at the minute, but apart from sort of the finger pick sections, I'm not quite sure he's approaching it, but I play it with my fingers, so that's what I'm most comfortable doing. But it just gives you that little extra bit of control that you need. So all I want to talk about now is action. So your action of your guitar is very important with slide, because if don't get me wrong, you know, I love Super Strats, Ibanez's, things like that, but they're not the best guitars for slide. Now, this Les Paul, I'd suggest if you could, if you sort of looking into invest some real time and effort into slide, is have a separate guitar set up for slide. Now, if you go on eBay, you can get little, I can't remember the technical term for them, but it's like a little brass block that sits over your nut, and what that does is it raises the action of your guitar without doing any sort of permanent, permanent fix. Another great one I picked up off a Guthrie Govan masterclass was he gets a pack of cigarette rolling papers and sticks it underneath the strings and puts it right to the top, so you don't have any open strings, so that kind of works as a mute as well, so you could use your pick for that if you wanted. But the downside to that is you don't have any open strings. A lot of the slide that I play involves open strings, get that really sort of southern American sound, you know. So, you know, that's another option to say. But if we just go down to the little camera again, if you look at my action, it's not ridiculously high, But I mean, you've got a good couple of mil in between the frets, especially at the 12th fret, and sort of that follows all the way up. So I mean, I can play this because this is my main humbucking guitar as well. Because I use Fenders mostly, sort of Strats and Tellys. But this gives you, you know, sort of when I need humbucking sounds, I've got them. So it's a little bit sort of tricky to play without, you know, sort of with the action being the way it is. But it's also great for slide as well, because a lot of the slide stuff I do is sort of really snarly southern sort of humbucking tones anyway. So I'd suggest having one. If not, I mean, you can tinker with your bridge. I mean, Tune-o-matics are pretty easy to adjust. Sort of it gets a little bit more complicated with Fenders and Tellys and stuff. I mean, if you've got Floyd Rose, I really wouldn't try slide with a Floyd Rose. I mean, if you've got one with a Floyd Rose copy on, you know, sort of a Super Strat or something, perhaps block it off and raise it. But I've never had a lot of luck with Floyd Rose. They just don't like me whatsoever. So yeah, the action's pretty important, because what you find is if you get a guitar with action that's sort of too low, you find yourself scraping on the frets. I don't know if you get that through the camera mic, but you find yourself scraping on the frets all the time, and that's not great. That's, you know, that's not going to help you whatsoever. So you want to be able to sort of apply a little bit of pressure, but not be touching the frets. So it's kind of finding that happy medium that's good for you, I suppose. Because you don't want to have it jacked right up, because obviously if your neck's bent one way and your strings are sort of, you know, if you've got it really sort of extreme, it's kind of hard to judge where your frets are. You've got to rely on your ears a lot more. So yeah, that's one thing to take into consideration. Sort of, I think this is the final thing I'll be talking about, is what finger you use the slide on. So we'll go down to the little camera again. Now, I use my third finger. That's because my fourth finger, it just doesn't connect with my brain. And as well, it's quite hard for me to get a slide that fits my fourth finger, because it's really sort of weedy. But you see a lot of people playing with the fourth finger, and sort of that's great. That does your job. The beauty of playing with your fourth finger, I would recommend it to anybody starting out on slide, because you would get used to it. But it's a bad habit that I've picked up on the way, and it just feels a lot stronger for me to use my third finger. But you've also got 3 more fingers to sort of do other things as well as the slide. So if you look at people like Sonny Landreth, he uses his fingers as well as the slide, sort of muting and notes behind the slide. Now, I use my third finger, but I've kind of learnt to compensate what I lose in the third finger, because that's my strongest finger, with my fourth finger. So I get by. You know, it's all down to taste and what makes you feel comfortable, as always with guitar. Now, I use my third finger. I wouldn't recommend using your second or your first finger, because it's kind of where your hand sits on the back of the neck. I'm going to show you on the little camera. Where your hand sits on the back of the neck, it just isn't, you don't have that arc. That sort of, you know, people talk about sort of the shred position and the blues position, where you have your thumb over. Now, I play slide with my thumb over, and it's kind of what you need, because it's, some people, I think Derek Trucks does it, and Duane Allman does it as well, but I find it a lot more comfortable to put my thumb over. So again, it's one of those things that's whatever's most comfortable for you. So that wraps it up for little lecture on slide. I'd like to thank you all for watching. It's been a long one. It's been a really long video. But as always, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the Guitar Boost mailing list to receive your free magazine every month, written by guitarists for guitarists. And if you catch up with me next month, we'll start getting into some slide licks, sort of slide riffs, and taking it further on. So that will be in July's issue of Guitar Boost. So thanks for watching on behalf of all the Guitar Boost team. Thanks for watching. Check it out.